Benjamin with another puzzle video for today. I'm gonna see if I can give me 1 second here. I'm trying to get this started real quick. All right. All right. So pretty much, I am gonna start going back every day like I used to, or at least make the effort to. Um, the kids are now in school, so they've been starting to sleep at better hours. So I'm probably can hopefully make it every day, unless you know there's a day where they're kind of up and making noise. But for the most part, it's been pretty good. So hopefully for the school year, I get to do that. So I'm gonna be sharing real quick to all the chats like I normally do, and then after that, pretty much get into what I normally do for the checks, captures, and threats. So, and I'm sharing it to more groups now than normal. Normally, I just share it to my group. I got permission to share it to a couple others, so I'm very excited about that, and hopefully, I get to get more people involved. Um, it's always nice when people comment things when it's live, and even when it's not live, but especially when live because I get to interact with people while this is going on. But for some reason, the when you interact live, when it's not live anymore, I don't see it. So that's okay though. Sorry, I was really deep in my my post I was making. So just give me 1 more second here. I got one more place. Do you have one more place, or I have a couple more. Trust teachers and learners. They allow me to post here as well, which I'm happy about. Teaching puzzles for under 1,000 and beginners with explanations. I'll just do it live here as well. I barely posted on my news feed, but okay. I think that's pretty much everyone. I'll just go ahead and get started. I normally don't post it on my news feed, my personal page, but kind of, a little happy about it, so feeling a little better. So let's get going. Some puzzles. My top score. Let's see if I can get my top score today. I'm feeling pretty happy, so. All right, wait to move. All right, checks, captures, and threats. I already know the answer, but I like to go over a few things. Um, Instead of the normal king and three pawns in front of it, it's backed up just by one mount. So if the king was here, for example, and this was blocked off, it would be checkmate this way. And we have two rooks. So that's pretty much a very similar pattern, but not exactly the same. So I'm going to go ahead and do the check here, forcing the king over. And after that, that would be checkmate. All right. Checks, captures, and threats. Oh yeah, I'm sorry about this. I forgot to say before each puzzle, it might be a good idea to pause it if you wanted to before me explaining my thoughts. If you wanted to try to solve it yourself, that's a very good way to go about this to help you, you know, with it. So basically, the first thing look for is checks. and if you see a checkmate, then that's most likely the answer. And if it's not a checkmate, then look for captures. And if you don't see captures, look for threats. And then you get used to trying to see patterns. And that's why I mentioned things over and over again, like the king and 3 pawns. Usually it's a checkmate. In somewhere it's a back rank mate usually, but in this case it's not. In this case, I can capture and it's protected. And then after he moves, it'll be checkmate right here. Pretty much the king's in the corner. He has no escape squares. And he will be in check by the queen. So that's checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. The first thing I notice is that the checks, both checks are look very bad. If I were to call it check, he would take it. If I were to call it check, he would just take it. So I would be losing the knight for nothing. For captures, this knight can capture the bishop, and also I'm in check, by the way. So I'm pretty much forced to deal with that before I do anything else. So I was supposed to deal with that before I even think about checks. But I am in check myself. So, and this is hanging here. So I can't just take this because I'm in check. And if I move my king out the way, he will be able to take my rook for free. However, I have a capture. So basically, these are bad. If I move this, this is bad because he can just take and call it check again. But taking the bishop would also be protecting my rook. So, and I would basically be winning a piece. So that's the answer. All right. If that happened in a game and you didn't realize that your rook was under attack and you just decided to move your king out the way or move the bishop out the way and you got the rook too, that actually I've actually seen that in games from people this rating actually. So this being a 288 puzzle is actually very correct. I've seen that in games from people in my group where stuff like that has actually happened when they had a capture or a better move. So that is an actual thing. Checks, captures, and threats. The pawns here, this pawn's attacking here. However, the knight is controlling the G7 square here. So because of that, the king has no escape squares. So if I put the king in check, like the rook, then that will be mate. Because he has no escape squares, he cannot go here because it's controlled by the knight. And he can't move up because he's blocked by his own pawn. So that is checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. His king is blocked off. He cannot move because of the rook. The checks that are available to me are here and here, B1 and C3. B1 check is bad because you can just take it and make a queen. However, this check right here is also checkmate because he cannot move in this area. So checks, captures, and threats. So this right here is a check. It is protected by the bishop. And the king can't move because the rook's in the way. Can't move here because his pawn. And can't move here or here because the queen would be controlling those squares. And it's also attacking the king here. So that would be checkmate. Checkmate in 1. Checks, captures, and threats. For black to move. This reminds me of a mating pattern. I forget the name of it. I said it last time. I think it was Arabian mate, and I don't want to keep saying the same thing if it's wrong. So it's a pattern that I remember. Basically, the rook is controlling these squares, so the king has to move. If the king, if the king's in check, he has to move back. So if I call check with the knight, the king will be forced to one of these 2 squares, and it doesn't matter which square he goes to. This knight is controlling the B1 and the B3 square. And because of that, because this is under control and this right here is, will be check, it doesn't matter which way the king will move. The knight will be controlling these squares. and the king is trapped. It doesn't matter where he goes. And that'll be checkmate. Sorry if that was a little confusing, but it's a check. These are controlled by the knight. He can't move away. So this would be mate in 2 because of his rook. So that's checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. This right here is a check. I notice the knight is also controlling the square. The king, let's say, he has 2 options. He can't move here because of the knight. So it's not like he can go here and escape. Because when I call it check, yeah, this is covered, and this is attacked. He has these 2 squares he can go to. So after check, after he moves, let's say he moves up 1. This would be checkmate of the queen. And let's say I call it check, and let's say he moves over here instead to f8. It will still be checkmate. So that would be the answer. All right, checks, captures, and threats. So let's see here. For white to move, the first check I notice is queen takes b7. There's another check here as well, but this check with the queen is protected by the rook, and the king has no squares. He can't escape. All those squares are hit by the queen, and it's also check, so that'd be checkmate. Oh, hello. Yeah, so we checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. I'm gonna go over a bad check first. This is the first check I noticed, and it's bad because he can just take it, and that's pretty much the end of the story. You pretty much lost. You pretty much be losing. The second check I noticed was the knight going to g6, and these squares are controlled by the bishop, so the king can't move. The pawn can't capture because the queen is basically making the pawn pinned because it's controlling and attacking those squares. So this is actually checkmate. So go ahead. Checks, captures, and threats. The first check I noticed is taking his pawn here. So I'm going to go calculate that. It is protected by the rook, so the king can't take. The king would be forced to move. So let's say these are all controlled by the queen. These are controlled by the queen. So the king will only have this square and this square to move to. That'll be it. So when I call check, he'll either move here or here. Now I have to think about what to do in each one. If he were to move to g1, queen at f2 would be checkmate. If he were to move to h2, I would still have checkmate, but it would be queen to g3 mate because the bishop is protecting it. So that would be checkmate there. Okay. They didn't make me do the checkmate, but it was checkmate either which way he moved. Checks, captures, and threats. The first thing I noticed is the king is blocked off and he has pawns in front of him. So he doesn't have much room to escape or move. But the checks with the queen are bad. If I were to call a check here or here, I will lose the queen. He would just simply take it because it won't be protected. However, I have a different check with the bishop. And because these squares are controlled by the queen, the king will be forced to move back. This is check. Sorry, this is check. The king will be forced to move back, and this would be checkmate. Oh, stack a few pieces first and then mate. All right, checks, captures, and threats. The first check I notice is right here. And let's roll with that first. If the king moves back, I can call check. The rook will take the queen, and this rook will come up and be checkmate because the king can't move out the way because it's blocked by his own pawns. So it's important not to be trapped by your own pawns because of back ring checkmates. Super important. Checks, captures, and threats. There's only 2 checks available. Let's say let's say I go here. He'll just take it. If I capture, I'm losing now because it's a rook and all these pawns versus 4 pawns, so that'd be bad. The second check is here. That'll be checkmate. The reason it's checkmate is because he's taking those squares, and the king can't escape because of this rook. So that'll be checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. The first check I notice is here, so let's go calculate that. The bishop is protecting it. So this would be a check. The bishop's protecting it. These squares are covered. And he can't move here because of this bishop here. So that'll be checkmate in 1. So he's kind of, he's pretty much got all these bishops taking care of all those squares and be finished off with the rook. So we checkmate in 1. Checks, captures, and threats. The first check I notice is here, but he would just capture, and I don't have a really good follow-up for that. So the second check I noticed, well, the queen's under attack, but if I had a check that, it wouldn't matter because he can't do anything but move the king. But in this case, I would have to move the queen for check. So we check this way. This check also attacks his rook as well. So check and a fork at the same time. So let's go calculate that. This is check. I'm not sure where he'll go. Let's pretend he moves here. I want to see if I'm supposed to take the rook or do a checkmate. So that's basically what I need to calculate. So if he goes over here, and I say I take the rook, and he moves up, the queen going to IE1 will be checkmate. He'll be checking the king, and the king can't escape. Everything's covered. So that would be checkmate. Okay, this is checkmate too. He'll just move the bishop back and just take the bishop. I really not nicer if he went this way. The same amount of moves, but I think this checkmate is more, this checkmate they're showing is easier. The other one I think is more fancy. So I wish they had the more fancier checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. Well, these checks over here are both bad. So it's not check with the rook. He would just take it since it's not protected. This check, however, might be good. Let's say I call it check and he were to move back. That would be checkmate with the rook. Now, what else can he do? Well, he can move his pawn. And if he moves a pawn, the queen can come down for check. And his queen can block. And then that'd be checkmate. So he can move the pawn down. It will still be checkmate. Another option he has is to move the rook in the way. But it leads to the same outcome. It's still check and checkmate. Let's go ahead. Okay, he chose the pawn move instead of the rook move. But we know that both answers are still checkmate. So there you go. Checks, captures, and threats. All the checks I immediately noticed are all bad. These checks are all unprotected, and the king can easily take it, or the knight can take it, or the rook can take it. Like it's just all bad. So all the checks are bad with the queen. I have a bishop check, and if he were to he can block with his bishop, but then I would just call it check, and I'll be winning a piece. Also, this check here if he were to move here, I can actually, no, I can't take the queen. This pawn's in the way. So I would win a piece if he did that. He would maybe take, but then I can call check with the queen and take the rook. So it looks like I can win a piece with this check. Let me see if it's worth it. I have 2 rooks. He has 2 rooks. We both have queens. I have 2 pieces. He has 3 pieces. So if I were to call check and I were to win a piece, I don't know if that would be the answer. I can win a piece, but I don't know if that's the answer. So let's see here. I can also kick the knight out. Let's say the knight goes somewhere. We're in the spot. Now if I call check, well, the queen can take it. I don't like that much either. It would be a lot easier if I called check and he were to take it this way, but I don't get to choose my opponent's moves, and he can block it with a bishop. So I don't know if that's the answer. But if it is the answer, then I'll be winning a piece, but it'll be equal material. And I believe that the puzzles you're supposed to be winning, not equal. Another option is moving the rook over to threaten some type of mate, which in a game, this is what I would do. I would probably move rook to d1 to threaten checkmate here, because the knight can't take it because it's pinned. Let's see if he can avoid it. He can block that way. Yeah, I in a real game, I'll play rook to d1. Part of me thinks the answer is bishop takes c6 and just basically become even. Because I would play this in a game, I'm just going to play it here too, because this is what I would do. Okay. I guess it was capture to make it even, but I felt like that would be winning continuation, but I also had a feeling that it was just to win a piece. So that's okay. Checks, captures, and threats. If I were to capture, well, first off, I don't have any checks available. Oh, I have this check right here available, but you just move out the way. Oh, that's actually a good thing. This is actually a good check because he's protecting the bishop. And if he were to move anywhere, and he can't go here because of the pawns. So if he moves here or here, I can just win the bishop. So I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. I first thought that wasn't a good check because it's like a pawn and he can just take it. And yeah, so that was actually pretty good. Checks, captures, and threats. Let's see here. Checks, captures, and threats. Well, these checks are bad. Like they're bad. The king can just take them. This check is bad. The queen can take it. This check is bad. The pawn can take it. So all my checks are bad. Captures. I can't even move it anyways because it's pinned. I don't have captures. I do have this move that pins the knight, but I also have this move here to attack the d2 square. So I can come in to threaten d2 check. That'd be actually checkmate. I also have this move here. So checkmate is the first thing to calculate. So let's say I go up and go to take b2 because so I can threaten mate. Let's see how you can do that. He can defend it, I think pretty easily. But then again, I can call check and take the queen. So yeah, if I take here, he can't move here because I'll take up the knight. Can't move here because I can call check and take the queen. So what else can he do? He can't move here because I'll take it. So this is looking a little bit more promising now. I actually thought this was the answer, but I wanted to go over this first because it's more forcing. Checks and checkmates are more forcing than capturing pieces and easier to calculate. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the answer. I don't see a way to him to avoid it, to be honest. Yeah, and now I call check and I can take the queen. I mean, I can call check this way, but he'll just take it and I'll lose my rook. So now I believe this is the answer, but I still have to see if there's a checkmate because if I don't look for a checkmate and won't exist, taking the queen would be a bad move and I'll be wrong in the puzzle. So check, he can move up. Yeah, either way, the knight can capture. So yeah, I don't have much of a continuation. So I'll go ahead. All right, checks, captures, and threats. This is a check. This is a check. This is a check. So now this will just be captured. So it's bad. Both of these immediately look okay. Well, I'm going to do the rook first because this queen isn't going to be doing the job by herself. Like she's just not doing the job by herself. So this queen is also controlling the G1 square. So the king can't escape. So if I call check this way while having this control, the only move he has to move the bishop to h3 to block. He can't move the queen because the rook's in the way. And I can call check here. The king only has one square to move, and that would be checkmate. So that's checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. Starting to feel a little tired now. I was super focused when I started. That's okay. Now, these squares are all controlled by the bishop. This check is useless. You just take it. So, because these are controlled by the bishop, if I were to call check with the knight, he'll be forced to capture, right? And after he captures, I can call check. The king can't escape because the bishop, and he can't move forward because his pawn's in the way, and he can't move here because the queen, and that would be checkmate. So this is check. He takes checkmate. All right. Checks, captures, and threats. Give me 1 second. I hear some background noise. I want to make sure, see what it is because I don't want it to get louder and go into the video. So give me 1 second. Just try to think of this one. All right, I'm back. Yeah, I found the source of the noise. You guys probably didn't hear it. It was low, but I didn't want it to get louder. So, all right, I'm back. Checks, captures, and threats. The first checks I see are all bad. This is bad. You just take it. This is bad. He'll just take it. This looks bad. He can take it. So I don't think the answer is a check. It might be a capture. And the only capture I see right now is knight takes bishop. He can't take it with the pawn because it's pinned, but he can take it with the rook. And if he does that, I can call check and take the rook. So I think that's the answer. Just looking through it because he has a possible check here. No, he doesn't because the rook. So he has a check, but he'll lose it. Okay, it looks fine. Just trying to make sure there's no counterplay. Yeah, if there's a counterplay, then the puzzle, that wouldn't work. Checks, captures, threats. There's no checks. The only capture we have is this pawn move. So let's go look at that first. If I were to take this here, both his pawns can't move because if he were to move down, I can just take it, and if he can move down, I would just take it. And it doesn't matter the order. If he moves down this first, I will still take it this way. So his pawns are pretty much locked in there. So if I take this right here, he would have to move to G1. And there's an actual pattern that's good to remember is I'll go to G3. It's called opposition. And it wouldn't matter which side he goes to. If he goes to H1, I would go to F3. And that way he'd be forced to move up and it'd be checkmate. I would check. I'm sorry. And then I can eventually promote. And after this, if he were to go here and I were to block off, if he were this way, it's the same thing. It's opposition. So this is the opposition. You can easily promote after that. So I don't see why that would be bad. Oh, I was thinking the white king was the black king. The black king was the white king. That was really horrible. Okay. I completely mixed that up because when I take it, he can just take the pawn back because he's white. Oh, wow. I can't believe I got confused on our kings. Yeah, that never happens in my games because I obviously remember where I moved my pieces to, but yeah. All right. Color dyslexia, if that's even a thing. Dyslexic, yeah. All right. Checks. If he captures, that's check. He has a few places he can move to, so I don't like that very much. Because he can go here, he can go here, he can go here. And if he were to go to F7, let's say, I don't really see much of a follow-up that I can do. If I call check and he takes, and I take with the queen, looks a little bit easier. If he moves out the way, looks a little bit easier. So I think that's the answer. It seems a little bit complicated, but I don't see any other forcing kind of move. So this should be it. I don't advise to do puzzles unless you go all the way through with it. But in this case, my mind's a little frazzled. I think it's after leaving and checking the noise because that really bothers me sometimes. I have a little pet peeve with noise when I'm trying to do videos or study chess. But let's just go ahead. Okay. And this would be check. Okay. I kind of did that a little too fast, but that's okay. I didn't like this check over here. That's what I didn't like. That's why I chose this one over here. But I'm going to go ahead and I guess do some puzzle battles. Unless someone wants to challenge me, I'm just going to do some puzzle battles just for some fun. I haven't done these in forever. They're easier on the phone because you can just click it. Here you have to use the mouse to move around. It's easier to click very quickly. Oops. Oh man, that's not good. I'm dropping my phone. All right, that was not very good of me. You can just take it. Yeah, that was not very good. I dropped my phone and everything. All right. I gotta try to catch up. Okay. Checks. It's basically looking for checks. Looking for all types of checks that can become checkmate. Just basically looking for checks that can be checkmate. That's basically all I'm doing. Looking for checks that can lead to checkmate. Looking for checks that can lead. Oh, I'm in check. Looking for checks that can lead to checkmate. Looking for checks. That's all I'm doing. It's really not that difficult. It's basically just memorizing a lot of checkmate patterns. Is basically all these are. I don't know if I'm supposed to take it out. Okay, I was 100% sure. Checks that lead to checkmate. All right, that was pretty bad. All right, I'm gonna go do a new one. I jumped my phone and everything. I was kind of off, so let's go ahead. Yeah, I'm okay. I appreciate it. I just dropped my phone and it was like really bad. So checks, captures, and threats. It's a free piece. This is checkmate. Yeah, that was bad. I kind of wasn't sure. That's checkmate. Checkmate. This would be checkmate very soon. Checkmate. 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 This is winning a piece. Should be checkmate. Oh, winning the piece first. We made it soon after, but not an exactly forced one. I don't like this one. Check. Take. I don't see a follow-up for that. This is a check. Okay. Let's see here. I don't see anything clearly, but I can move my knight up. Okay. Okay. Checkmate. Okay. Just trying to go really fast here. It's hard to actually do these on this compared to a phone. Because on the phone, you can just click your screen and click. And here you have to touch the piece and go somewhere else. And that takes a little extra time. Makes it a little nervous too. So I do one more. Didn't do so hot though. Okay. Um. Dude, checkmates, 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 checkmates. Just that's all I have to look for. Most of these puzzles are checkmates. If I don't see a checkmate immediately, I look for captures. So I never had to deal with threats in these puzzle things. It's just check captures, checkmates and captures. I mean. Oops, almost messed that up. It looked like a different pattern, but it wasn't the right one. Checkmate. Check. Ooh, that was almost bad. Oh, that's checkmate. I have the bishop. Checkmate. Black to move. If I move the rook, that'll be mate against me, so that's not the answer. I just don't see what I should be doing. Oh, I can take the rook. Okay. That should be easy winning game. Smothered mate. This went my time. I actually would be a lot better off doing it on the phone. All right, that was okay. All right, that was pretty nice. I think I did pretty well. Yeah, I'm not gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep thinking about how faster I can touch the screen on the phone to compare to this. I don't have a touch screen screen for my laptop, so I know it's pretty quick. Yeah, these puzzle battles are really good for your bullet game. Like if you're gonna play a bullet game, do a couple of these for your games. It was super helpful. If you're playing longer time controls, let's say you're doing, let's say instead of bullet, you're doing blitz. You might want to do puzzle rush 5 minutes, a few times, once or twice. Good for your before playing blitz, and for longer games, survival to really think things through. I don't really think things through. I just kind of go pretty quickly here when I do these. I don't spend too much time on it because I know sometimes when I spend too much time on a puzzle, people who are on live sometimes leave. So I like to try my best to keep it just keep it going. So all right, that's pretty much all for today. Yeah, like and subscribe. I will really appreciate it if my videos are shared anywhere. Share any chess group, chess.com, the chess.org, anything, any chess group. That way to help get me support and help me get more views, get more likes. It feels good and it makes me want to keep doing the videos. The more that people are getting involved, so I would appreciate sharing very much if just to keep things going and continuing. And I do have a link for donations after After I don't send the link when I'm live. I send it after I'm live, for donations. So that also is helpful because it takes time to do these and stuff, and I could be doing other things, but I like doing this. So, and donations make it a little easier as well. So, all right, thank you. Thank you for your time. Get to go now.